Hello everyone, it's Mike Levin, Wednesday, October 11th at about 8:30 a.m. 2017, and I'm on my way into work, and it's interesting. I shall open up with why I actually go out of my way to try and put a verbal timestamp at the beginning of every video, and the very abstract notions of what's going on in my videos. As those who follow me know by now, I am almost allergic to editing my videos, and I have one of two reactions to this. Either people are just not interested, or they'll listen through and watch only as far as they need to get the quick answer to whatever they searched on in YouTube, and forget about me until they search again and encounter me. I think that's most of the people, given my, I guess, close to 2 million views on my channel. That's pretty much people's relationship to me, if they have one at all. And that's quite understandable, because the remainder of the people who actually do watch me are probably the intersection of some interesting circles on a Venn diagram. First and foremost, above all else, they've got patience, because I'm not for the light of heart. I never really realized quite what an uber nerd I was until I came to New York City and actually interacted with a lot of people who were not necessarily just like me, as in the Commodore circle of people from around Westchester, Pennsylvania, who were most of my circles from the moment I discovered the Amiga computer through Ed Flacco and Mark Rifkin, some of my childhood friends, who showed me not only how incredibly awesome and special it was to have grown up near the Pennsylvania Commodore Computers headquarters, their international headquarters, which was technically in the Bahamas in a post office box, but that was functionally in my backyard in the burbs where I grew up. And so, let's see, this video, yes, the timestamp indexing at the beginning. I'm allergic to editing, so I just shoot these videos on my commute, and my audience either sort of, is hit and run, or they have a tremendous amount of patience because they're at the center of a Venn diagram, beginning with patience, then going on to a level of super geek in the same interest areas, limited, old school, some new school. I'll talk about the new school today with those timestamps. Technologies. I'm a Vim person. I like to use the text editor named Vim, and I am also a Python person. I do believe that Python is the lingua franca of tech, the de facto standard way that systems are going to interact with each other, because the Pythonic way of designing and using APIs rocks. The only other thing that I guess would be a close competitor elegance-wise that I've encountered is Ruby, to the extent that Ruby has an awesome regular expression engine built in for these wonderful one-liners. But more and more I'm discovering things like that in Python that are highly equivalent, or in its own way surpasses, Ruby one-liners to the nth degree, and being the number of rows in a Pandas data frame that you're manipulating. More on that in a second. So the people following me have patience, have overlap in the interest subject areas of tech that I was enumerating: Python, Vim, Linux and Unix in general, computer technology and history, a special interest on the hardware, superiority of hardware A over hardware B, and why the superior hardware often does not win, because the APIs are where compatibility and openness and, you know, VHS versus Betamax and PCs versus Macs, and Macs re-platforming onto Unix, which is an even more standard than Office compatibility, and the list goes on. So, you know, it's a battle of ecosystems and hardware and software and operating systems and killer apps. You know, the apps that sell the platform. Software plays an incredibly important role, not only at the operating system level, but at the application level. Apple always knew that by putting out its own Office suite. And Apple knew a lot of this stuff, and a lot of these deep vertical integration tricks that give Apple both its margins and its performance improvements are all pages taken from Commodore's book, by the way. You know, there nearly was no Apple because of Commodore, and Bill Gates is one to deeply learn his lessons, and it's not one he talked about often, but the level to which the Amiga was superior to everything coming from Apple at the time was unbelievable. It was like alien technology landing on Earth, at the expense that it always crashes. Alien technology that does nothing but crash. That's the Amiga. 20 to 30 year head start over other platforms, which are only just catching up now. I thought they caught up 10 years ago, but it's not until I see that virtual screen implementations are pretty solid across both the Windows and the Mac platform, with an elegant way to do what we used to do with Amiga N, to cycle through screens with the same fluidity of images and graphics and animation. Yeah, the handling of multi-screens like just happened in mobile on Android and iPhone. It's only just now catching up with the Amiga. The Amiga had a 30-year plus head start over other platforms. Now, granted, the Amiga couldn't move the bits around, but those were limitations of the hardware during the day. Elegance-wise, just about the only thing that was missing with the Amiga was memory protection, the partitioning of resources so that the crashing of one bit of work didn't take away the other. And that was tied to how tightly coupled things had to be in those days to be high performance and cheap. So, yeah, that's one of my passions. So I guess that's part of the Venn diagram. Passion-worthy tech. The Amiga was passion-worthy, but let me down. And, you know, there's a lot to be learned from that on the positive side. First of all, platform selection. You select your platform so that the things you can do is still love-worthy. The hardware is cool and awesome enough to make you feel good about sitting down at it all the time. And it's somehow future-proofed if you're basing your career on it and don't want to have to relearn everything all the time. Now, I know the argument, you know, you just generally know how to know, you learn how to learn, and you can switch between any platform and, you know, that comes up, but there's muscle memory and mastery. Any musician who plays their musical instrument or martial artist who uses a weapon knows that, you know, the nuances of the tools matter. The, you know, the weight, the balance, the, you know, appropriateness of the proportions to you and your physical body. This all plays in when things get competitive, when you're competing for resources, larger resources where there's more people competing more intensely because what's at stake, the risk-reward proposition goes up. You have better people of better skills, not better people, but people who put in the time and the practice with better equipment and better tools. That kind of mastery is available in tech, and I hunger for it. I look for it, I have looked for it, and I found it in Python, the general Unix, Linux platforms, and whatever hardware happens to come up when you take advantage of the proprietary little bits because it's fun and you know, exciting to be in that space as well. I've got the Note 8. The screen is cracked already. I got to get it fixed. But I'm going to be doing a lot of my pen casting. So I guess that's another thing about my videos and the audience. I sprinkle in all this everyday life stuff. I'm highly integrated myself. I don't feel there's time enough in life to pigeonhole this channel and that. I might do channels. If it ever becomes my primary income stream, I'll focus in and put the production quality into these things that many others do in YouTube. That sound, by the way, is wheels on a sidewalk grill. Yeah, this has an interesting texture, which adds to the people, you know, I guess it's patience, but it's also interest in just general New York around me as I take these walks, and the funniness in that, you know, it's doable. It doesn't stand out of place all that much that it draws any kinds of real looks. For all they know, I'm just talking to someone on FaceTime. So anyway, not editing, rambling on. Yeah, I keep lots of irons in the fire in my field of SEO that I feel is going away as we know it any day now, and felt that way for the past 10 years. But it's really just a matter of Google getting smarter, going through the infancy stages of machine learning into the infancy stages of artificial intelligence. You know, the labels aren't clear. If it's machine learning, then it's definitely going from infant to baby. And when we talk to Google with a voice recognition today, we're just like talking to a smart baby. But that smart baby isn't going to stay a baby for long at the rate the technology acceleration curve is going. It's as simple as this. If we don't encounter a filter event that either wipes us out or sets us back to pre-Stone Age, we are going to gradually ascend to be virtually godlike beings. You know, the progenitors of a galactic intelligence, if we so desired it. If we don't wipe ourselves out, spreading out there is inevitable, getting off the earth, because you can't keep the resources out of the hands of the folks who are motivated to do it, who could pool their resources at a country level to get a colony ship together and get off the planet. So if we don't destroy ourselves, we're getting out there. Now, the getting out there might remain very, very local, but I'm digressing. I don't want to turn this into a future talk video. I'll be at work soon. But this sort of futurism, this view that I've got about 20 professional years before I'm going to want to retire, and at 47 years old, I still haven't really done it for myself. I'm like the kid in the candy factory who doesn't own the candy factory, but that's what I feel like. I feel like Willy Wonka. Every single day learning Python, fixing all the career path mistakes of my youth. I don't want to ever be management. You know, you're more effective if you are a one-person team. So I've always been drawn to those, you know, print production people who can almost do everything, and then that became web mastering, again, almost doing everything, and then to SEO, and now that next phase, I like to get my hands dirty and build, and I'm never going to be like creating websites from some lightweight version of Django so that I can get the best of free and open source for content management while I step in and override the web logging system with some Python data stream real-time things so that I can create those righteous feedback loops, not for the sake of spamming Google with the spam cannon, which is what that stuff used to be for when they were giving us the keywords on all the referrers, but instead to demonstrate the love and beauty and art of knitting this stuff together by hand, old school. It's what I love. I don't want to be a manager. So how do you take the last remaining 20 years of someone's career where they're finally seeing it all, they're getting the big picture, connecting the dots, quite happy with their role in it, even though by all appearances it's something much junior to where that person should be by that time in their life. But it's simply this: people are wired up differently in their head, and they congregate into groups. How many people have both an engineer and a salesperson in their family? Different people, right? Like, to the core, they're different people. What motivates a variable income sales employee is different from what motivates someone who, if they get the diameter of a bolt wrong, people are gonna die. It's a whole different way of being. The number of levels of redundancy of safety that you build into your behaviors, your risk adverseness, your introversion and extroversion. It's, you've got how you're predisposed, but once you choose that career, you're being focused in. And that is limiting. That focusing, that wiring you up to a select subset of what it could be to have this experience here on Earth is limiting. And okay, so salespeople who are also engineers who become salespeople, they're almost legends in their company. The most soft-spoken, able to debate engineer is the most effective salesperson in the company, because they can overcome every objection like a kung fu master, and depending on their integrity, overlook certain facts and weave them into half-truths and make the most effective sales pitch that can be made, because they just exude competency. They're clearly the people dealing with the issues of using a system or product like this every day. Levels of trust go up. That kind of person is uncommon. Someone who can both communicate and walk the walk is rare. And I think people know it when they see it, they recognize it. And so I've been thinking about what my pitch is. I'm the perpetual noob at technology, because the reset button is hit on me all the time. And I do sort of love digging into a new tech and tearing it apart. But I also love achieving mastery. So I've been spinning over, perpetual noob, Python data master, what my pitch is, what my elevator pitch is, why you should hit that subscribe button. Subscribe, I don't know, hit all these different platforms. I guess you got to point every direction. Hit the subscribe button. Be notified of my new videos by hitting the bell, maybe. I got to adjust my sign-off pitch. But the reasons that my pitch, my elevator pitch, I think I'm going to change it every once in a while, because we're always in a transitional state. So, right now, you should join me on my journey learning the Pandas language for Python in Jupyter Notebook, which is a browser-based version of Python, highly accessible because it gets installed when you go download Anaconda. Google Anaconda, download the Python 3.x version for your usually 64-bit operating system. I guess there's enough 32 bits out there, they still give the choice, but it's almost always your operating system 64-bit version. Python 3.6 usually is the one these days, but by the time you're watching this, it could be 3.7 or 4 point something. At any rate, stay on the latest Python. You won't be sorry, especially in these days through the now overwhelming adoption of 3.5 and above, because there's so many reasons to and so few reasons not to. I think even on the performance level, Python 3.x is beating 2.7 on almost every level. So download Anaconda, install it, learn how to run Jupyter Notebook, do your first Python Hello World program, and then get ready to import Pandas as PD. And that's our starting point for the future videos. I'll try and get back to the talking head typing usually in Vim, but now more and more it'll be Jupyter Notebook stuff. When to switch back and forth between Vim and Jupyter Notebook, transporting your code, playgrounds here, an automation system here. And so join me on that journey while I rewire myself to my next phase of my career evolution, where whatever it's going to be called, step 1, master pandas. Thanks for joining me. Hope to talk to you again soon. And don't forget to subscribe.